Hey, welcome, folks, to this edition of the 700 Club. We've got some exciting things for you today. We've got our financial expert, Drew Parkhill. He's going to talk about the latest investing thing that is tearing the country up. You don't want to miss it, so get out your pencil and pen, and maybe he'll give you a stock tip. Maybe he won't. I don't know. Well, we'll find out. Well, welcome to the 700 Club. We've got $1.9 trillion, a hefty price tag on President Biden's COVID relief plans. And it's a huge roadblock for Republicans who met with the president yesterday. So will he try to push his plan through without bipartisan support? Well, who will stand in his way? Our Jenna Browder brings this report.
At the White House Monday, both sides left the meeting calling it productive. But as of right now, neither side is willing to budge much.
Thank you, folks.
A show of bipartisanship inside the Oval Office. The 2-hour meeting between President Biden and 10 GOP senators ending with no deal, but an agreement to keep the conversation going.
We're very appreciative that it's his first official meeting in the Oval Office. The president chose to spend so much time with us.
The biggest roadblock is the price tag. President Biden wants $1.9 trillion for his plan. Republicans, $600 billion. Biden's plan calls for $1,400 checks for most Americans. Republicans want to cut that figure to $1,000 and send checks to only lower-income Americans. Another item on the Democrat plan, a gradual increase to the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. But there is some common ground. Both sides would like to see $160 billion for vaccines and testing. With control of the White House and both chambers of Congress, the ball is in Democrats' court, though their majority in the House is margin thin, and in the Senate split 50-50. CBN chief political analyst David Brody says it could all come down to a power group of centrist senators.
The last time I checked, Joe Manchin's a Democrat, which means the Democrats are going to need his vote, along with Kyrsten Sinema, another center-left senator, and John Tester as well, another center-left Democrat. So there's no guarantee that they're going to get all 50 Democrats to pass through something on budget reconciliation. So there is a gamble here.
Meanwhile, January marked the deadliest month on record for COVID, and the spread of new, more contagious variants threatens a new surge. The CDC says only 8% of Americans have been vaccinated. That process now slowed by the massive Northeast snowstorm.
You're all set, okay? You can come right in.
At Boston's Fenway Park, seniors piled in for their vaccines Monday.
Well, that's why we're here so early.
And there is some encouraging news. Hospitalizations appear to be going down. 38 states have reported at least 10% fewer people in hospital beds this week compared to last. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Well, they're going to have fights over some of his appointees, too. Some that he is picking are just unbelievable in what they have had to say. It's remarkable. But I think the Senate, the one that they have to confirm, there may be some serious fights over some of his appointees, but we'll get into that later. Well, the hottest thing out here in investing has to do with what's called electric cars. You think, well, that's something for the future. No, it's not. The future has come. It's right here upon us, and it is unbelievable. Now, one American car maker, GM, is saying, we're going to have nothing but electrics in a few years. But it's much more than that, and we're going to be talking about some investment opportunities or themes that are roiling the markets. Ephraim Graham has more.
Pat, General Motors has set an ambitious goal. It plans to make the vast majority of its fleet electric by 2035. Now, that's just 14 years away. Mark Martin is on this story.
GM's goals have a hefty price tag. The company already announced it will invest $27 billion in electric and self-driving vehicles in the next 5 years. And that's a 35% increase over the plans it drafted before the pandemic. The Detroit automaker plans to offer 30 all-electric models across the globe by mid-decade, with 40% of its American models battery electric vehicles. That includes electric crossovers, sedans, SUVs, and trucks. At the 2021 International Consumer Electronics Show, the company put on display a range of electric vehicles, including a GMC Hummer pickup.
This is the world's first all-electric super truck. GMC Hummer EV will be capable of 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds. It has a crazy amount of power.
All that with zero emissions. GM wants to make all new light-duty vehicles, the huge majority of its fleet, completely electric by 2035.
With this new battery package, they're promising range of up to 450 miles, which could actually get them ahead of Tesla. GM has a long way to go to catch up, but the products and the technologies they showed today should go a long way of bridging that gap.
GM's move comes as Tesla reaches a huge milestone, reporting its first full-year profit, earning $721 million in 2020. The company predicts its 2021 sales will increase by more than 50%. One reason why a leading stock analyst believes Tesla has the potential to be a trillion-dollar company. Mark Martin, CBN News.
An ambitious goal in the stock market is taking notice. Pat?
Well, it really is. And folks, GM, it's nice to listen to what they're going to do in the next 14 to 15 years. It's already happening in China. I mean, it's happening right now. And they are producing electric cars at a record pace. And our CBN News financial editor, Drew Parkhill, is here. And Drew, what's the deal on electric and why are they so much superior to the old internal combustion engine?
Well, let me tell you something, Pat. Mark's story and what you were talking about earlier about Tesla, let's take a quick look at a chart of Tesla. I want you to see exactly what's been going on. All right, this is the last 5 years. You can see for a long time it went between about 35 and close to 80, okay, and it bottomed at 35, and then about less than a year and a half ago, it went from 35. Now it hit 900 here recently. It's about 850 now. What a huge run this stock has had in just the last year and a half. Now, let me show you the biggest companies in the country, okay? The biggest one is Apple, which is now worth $2.2 trillion. Microsoft is worth $1.75 trillion. Number 3 is Amazon, $1.6 trillion. Alphabet, that's Google, is just a little over a trillion, 1.2. Tesla is now the number 5 most valuable company on the stock market index at $752 billion. It's on its way to $1 trillion. Look how fast that's happened. Why is that happening? It's because people see the future. Pat, about 20 years ago, we did an interview here, and I said there's going to be this thing, I didn't use this word, called the smartphone, and everybody's going to have it. Well, now, here it is. Here's an iPhone 12, okay? Everybody has these things now. Everybody's going to have electric cars 20 years from now or less than that because the government is pushing it that way. So are the big businesses, the big car companies. This is the future right now, and it's already starting to show up in the stock market.
All right. Obviously, I don't think we ought to advise people to get on Tesla. I mean, Musk has made a fortune, but it's a little too late to ride on that. But listen, what is the deal about an electric car that makes it so appealing? How much money can they save on it?
Well, there was a study from the University of Michigan. We have a graphic about that in 2018, which shows that on average, a new gas vehicle costs $1,117 a year to operate. Okay, a new electric car, however, only costs $485, so you would save about $632. Now, that's on average again. Okay, it depends on where you live and, you know, how far you drive and all that. Some places will be more, some places will be less. But that's one thing that people look at. I mean, there's some offsetting factors. You might have to put in a charging station at home and so forth. But the technology is going to get better and better and better. And, you know, you better get with the program here because, you know, whether you believe in global warming or not, businesses do. So, and that's one of the big appeals of this. Plus, you know, the big thing, too, is the battery. That's the most important factor, just to jump ahead a little bit here, because batteries are the most expensive part. But, Pat, you know, in new cars, all the bells and whistles they have, you know, those things take energy, and these batteries provide that energy. So a lot of battery stocks, like from China and here in the U.S., there are companies who are looking into this as well. And also, because these cars have so many moving parts, even companies like Apple and other already established companies like NVIDIA, they're going to do well as well.
All right. Well, Drew, the thing about an electric car, you don't need distributors, you don't need spark plugs, you don't need a transmission. There's a whole lot that you don't have to have in a car, and you just hit the gas and suddenly it's up to 60 miles an hour in a heartbeat. So, what's the most important factor when they're building these things? Is it the battery?
Yes, it is the battery. And, you know, Pat, you remember You know how big screen TVs used to cost an arm and a leg and then another arm and a leg, and now you go into, Best Buy or Walmart and they'll practically give them to you and they'll be gorgeous. You're going to see the same thing with electric cars. The price is going to come down, the performance is going to improve, they'll have more bells and whistles, and it's like you said, a friend of mine has a Tesla, and a mutual friend of ours drove it, and he said, this is the greatest thing in the world. I mean, he really liked it himself. So, yeah, it has a lot of simplicity. It has a lot of appeal. It's going to be a real improvement. Well, there's a company in China called BYD that is actually making more cars than anybody. I mean, they're leading, and Warren Buffett put several billion into it as an investment. What are the battery companies that you were talking about? Well, BYD, and there's another one called CTAL that is they're the two big ones in China. Okay, and so they make a lot of batteries. There are companies in the U.S. that are looking into this, are looking into the whole lithium-ion technology and working on developing it as well. So there will be competition. Okay, there's a Chinese car company, NIO, which is like the Tesla of China, and it's growing like a weed as well. So we're still early on. Tesla probably still has room to grow. I mean, who thought Apple was going to be a $2 trillion company, or Microsoft be nearly $2 trillion? So there's still room to grow in the various stocks. People have to do their own research, but. Would you like to give us a couple of names, just in case? Ladies and gentlemen, don't invest in them unless you check it out. But exactly. What are you looking at, Drew? Well, I think NIO is the one that a lot of people look at. A lot of people think even Apple, NVIDIA, even GM and Ford, watch some of the American companies because they're moving in this direction as well. So, but NIO is one that a lot of people think could do well over time. But again, folks, you have to do your own research, as Pat just said. NIO is a battery company? They're actually the Tesla of China. Tesla of China. Yeah. They make the cars, and like BYD. It's amazing, though, Drew. I mean, I had no idea that these things were as efficient as they are, and that's why Tesla, I mean, they have a bigger market cap than GM, Chrysler, and Ford combined. It's not even close. Yeah. It's not even close. I mean, because the stock market looks toward the future, and they believe and they see that electric vehicles are the future, and Tesla got there first. That simple. All right, well, last question. All right, you're driving down the road and your battery runs out in 300 miles. Is that the deal now? Have they got them to go a lot more? Well, they're working on that. That will be one of the improvements on battery technology. I know, like, for instance, here in Virginia, there are places, rest areas, and they could have battery charging stations. That's one of the things where improvements are going to have to come. You have to be aware of how far you can go, how far your charge will last, and when you might need a new battery and so forth. Well, you ask yourself, why don't you suppose the Biden administration gets on board this thing? There are all kinds of jobs, there are all kinds of opportunities. This is a whole new technology. Instead of just beating up on the energy companies and trying to put them out of work, well, do you have any idea how come those guys aren't picking up on this? This I do not know. Thankfully, though, the private sector is moving that direction. GM and Ford are moving that way, so, they're on the stick at least. Well, Drew, thank you for this analysis.
So what do you suppose it costs if you're on a trip and it runs out and you even have a charging station? How long do you have to sit and wait for that battery to recharge?
Well, it'll take longer than you like. But
pack a lunch, folks.
Well, they're talking about batteries that'll go 12,000 miles and stuff like that. I mean, wow. It's in the future. I mean, they've got to do it.
Yes.
But it's amazing. It is not only are they going to have electric vehicles, they're going to have self-driving vehicles that will use the new technology so that you don't even need a driver on them. They'll be very safe, and you can just pick up the phone and call and say, would you please send one around, pick me up at 2 in the afternoon, and you get in and you punch up a few buttons and it takes you to where you got to go.
You might not need Uber anymore. You could just send your car to pick up your food, right?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, that's exactly what's coming. So not only is it going to be, it's amazing if we just turn technology loose, we're going to have a great time if we don't destroy the country in the meantime. All right, let's go back to Ephraim and see what he's got.
Pat, weather forecasters are calling it a marathon nor'easter. That massive snowstorm that hit the Northeast yesterday is still dropping snow over the region, as parts of New York already have 16 inches. As much as 30 inches fell in northern New Jersey. Airports are shut down with more than 1,600 flights canceled. In New Jersey, cement trucks now double as snowplows. And those famous rocky steps outside the Philadelphia Museum of Art, well, they're now a sledding hill. Well, just in case you needed a second opinion that winter is here to stay, that fearless prognosticator Punxsutawney Phil confirmed it this morning. Phil made his annual appearance at Gobbler's Knob in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, and he did indeed spot his shadow, meaning we've got 6 more weeks of winter to go. And organizers did not let the pandemic stop the event. The celebration was virtual, with revelers logging online to watch the ceremony, listen to music, and learn how to make at-home crafts. Bundle up. Winter's here to stay, Pat.
All right. Well, I guess I might as well pick the groundhog rather than
That's right.
The forecasters have been very accurate on this, I might add. They said it's coming, and boy, it's coming, and it's still here. Who would have thought just hour after hour of New York being blanketed with snow?
Thankfully, we're just south of that.
I mean, I like a little snow, though, Terry. We had a few little flakes, and then it all melted.
Great.
Yeah.